No. Look, the rest of the world may be happy with feeding us plastic, but I'm not happy with feeding you plastic, okay? Yep. Be gone. Thank you. Now, I am aware that I left you in a bit of a lurch last week. You came here for... but instead got... So let's continue, shall we? This is a door that goes on the front of the stove where the primary air intake will be. The piece of 32mm stainless steel tube accepts my king chrome vacuum cleaner nozzle really well, and the length of it is pretty much only to keep it away from the heat. This is my homemade rotary welding table, and basically I love it and hate it at the same time. I kind of made it on a bit of a whim, out of necessity, and it refuses to dive, but I will make another one soon. That'll eyes. There we go. A couple of you have asked about my pulse settings, so here they are for this weld. I believe it was 150 amps. The hertz was set on 1, the pulse percentage was 35, and I was using lay wire technique, and the results were very satisfactory. The lid needed some reinforcement in it to hold the insulation and mud and stuff in. We'll get to that later. I'm using 2.4mm filler wire. In retrospect, I probably could have gone a little bit heavier, but that's just what I had on hand, and I wanted it to be stainless steel. You're looking at some 50 by 50 stainless steel angle and some 16mm hollow tube. This is going to be part of the mechanism that lifts the lid. The foot pedal and lifting arm are all made out of 10mm stainless steel rod. It was really quite a nice fit inside that tube.
Hello. So we have the usual suspects. We have some vermiculite and some perlite. This is going to add some insulation value to our crushed up termite mound. This is a trick that was told to me by the local hardware manager. He did a blacksmithing course back in the day, and part of that course was they had to construct a foundry. And they were basically instructed to go and find a termite nest and add, crush it up, add water, and they made their foundry out of that. So that's really interesting. I have no idea what sort of temperatures it can withstand, but I guess that's why we're here. So I'm going to try to make a fairly dry mix to go inside, to pack inside our little forge. But yeah, it'll be these guys, a bit of water, and at the end I may even throw a bit of glass water around just to sort of seal it all in. Keeping track of the measurement with these yogurt tubs. So I'm going to go one of those. No, that's a lot more dusty. One of each. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry.
So 2 parts insulation to 4 parts termite mound, and you add enough water until you get the consistency of...
It looks like cow poop.
Along the bottom.
This is like building.
Damn, we're going to need lots of this stuff. I need to go get some more perlite and vermiculite.
Off camera we slipped some kale wool in the bottom and then topped it off with the termite mixture.
Do you want me to add this?
Yep, add it in, absolutely. Now that just add it in. We'll spread it all out. We want to put it all the way to the top.
Okay. Even this bit.
Oh yeah. Trowels nicely. I hope this works. It'll be so cool. Have an inexpensive refractory mix. It's an odd stuff. It's still wet and sort of, I don't know, setting like a pudding.
To give this stuff the best chance possible, I let it air dry for 3 days and then did a very gentle heat, slowly bringing it up to temperature. At that stage, there was only a few cracks that could be seen, but nothing too bad. Once I was convinced that the stove was up to a reasonable temperature, I decided to go full send with some palm nuts.
I didn't mean to, but I made a wood gasifier.
It finally clicked. I needed 2 air supplies, one in the front and one down the top, which meant I needed a splitter, which meant more 3D printing. I really didn't want to use it, but it looked like the vacuum cleaner was now my only option. The modification required would need me to walk the cup, so let's talk walk the cup.
You want to tip your torch all the way back, rest it down. What we're going to do is, if I'm twisting that way, I'm coming this way. If I'm twisting that way, I'm coming this way. And that's what gives you your movement. I think the hardest thing when you're learning to walk the cup is just getting it to move. I remember sitting there doing this and going, it's not moving, so I tried pushing it along, and that's not how you do it. If you twist this way, your wrist is going this way. If you twist that way, your wrist is going that way. And when you combine that together, and depending on how aggressively you do it, you can really boogie along. Now at first, when I start off, this is going to be quite slippery. It's going to be, the likelihood of slipping off is really at that first, 10 mil of weld. once you're onto freshly welded material, it's a whole new world. It becomes really quite grippy, and suddenly it's like, oh, you can just relax and work your way into it. It's really handy if you can mount this somewhere, or even have someone hanging onto it and twisting it for you. That way you can go around it in one continuous loop. But I'll probably be resting it on the bench like I'm doing there. And that's how I'm going to weld this. Oh, that's lit. Yeah, that happens. I'm going to do a short freehand fuse just so I've got a grippy start. Oh. It's actually pretty bad for what I usually do. It's much easier when this is attached to another piece of pipe and it's just all sturdy. Anyway, enough excuses. So I just cleaned that up with a bit of Scotch-Brite and my... nobody would ever know. That's the angle I want to cut that off on. I've got that sitting hard down flat, which means, well, really, this cut needs to be 90 degrees to that angle, so that should be the right angle right there. I've just got some wood underneath to help support it during the cut. I'm hoping this works. I've got it in there fairly tight. We'll just run with that and take it real slow. Oh.
One other thing that I forgot to mention was tungsten stick out. When walking the cup around small diameter pipe, you want barely any stick out. It sounds ridiculous, but once you start doing it, you'll realize, oh man, you got to pull that thing way in for this to work properly.
Certainly not X-ray quality, but that was 32 amps, no purge, and it's just probably the quickest way to join a bit of pipe together. I felt good about that one. Hurrah! That was intense. 4 amps, straight DC, and to get in there, we need some ridiculous stick out.
The general rule for tungsten stick out is you can go out as far as the cup is round, except for when you're welding into corners. When you've got that material around to sort of help keep the gas in, you can get that thing hanging a long way out, and sometimes you need to, like just now, to get into those areas.
Whew.
With the modifications done, it's time to fire it up.
We're going to start off with pine.
Even after all of that, it still wasn't right. But I had a hunch. I think I needed a diffuser. And that was that. We pretty much had this stove beat now, but I wasn't prepared for what happened next. Without any warning at all, it suddenly dialed up to 11, and I was ecstatic. This was so much better than I could have ever imagined.
So the question is, how hot is it actually getting? And I actually have a way of finding out. I've just got to let this thing go out and stop playing with it.
Off camera, I turned that bit of Rio into this crucible holder. I knew I would need it for the next test.
The next step in this build is, well, I want to see how hot we're getting. This is a thermal couple. Basically how a thermal couple works is it has two dissimilar metals inside. When this thing is heated, it generates a very small amount of current. This measures that current and converts it to temperature. The important thing with this is make sure that you have a thermometer that matches your thermal couple. So in this case, this is a K-type. K-type indicates the temperature zone. So it says here K, and basically minus 50 to 1300 C. This is some 16mm tube. It has a 12.5mm bore, and that fits that like the good Lord intended it. Well, I don't think that's coming out. Darn it. I wanted it to line up, and it does. A little bit too well. Oh yes, okay.
Off camera, I made a holder for the digital thermometer and tack welded it onto the body of the stove.
Booyah! If that was in the minus, I would have the positive and negative around the wrong way. This is a DC device, so positive and negative matters. I'm going to try this fat wood to light it, and let's just get on with the test. I'm going to start on pine, and then I'm going to move to the palm nuts. aluminium Mars bars, anybody? So I think the next step is I need to invest in some better safety gear. I need a face shield and a few other things. I need a better way of pouring this. I kind of knew that, but just in the excitement of everything, I didn't get around to making a proper dedicated crucible pouring thingy. I don't know what any of this is called, so help me out there, please. But yeah, it seems to be holding up quite fine. I'm really happy with the results. The high temperatures that we got, I think a maximum of 980 or 979 degrees was measured. It does fluctuate a bit. Well, I don't know if I need to refine this or I just need to work out how to operate it. In the past, whenever I've made something, it's very tempting to go, oh, that didn't work very well. There's probably not much wrong with this. I just need to learn how to use it. So that's sort of where I'm at now. I don't want to change it much more. There's a few things I'll tweak, but I don't want to change it too much. I just want to learn how to use it, work out which fuels it likes, which fuels it doesn't like. Pine seems to be okay. Pine will get me around 640 to 650 degrees and it'll just stay there quite consistently. Palm nuts, they're the clear winner as far as crazy heat is concerned. I really wish that I put the thermometer actually in here. I will be doing some more experiments. I'm a bit of a hoarder. For a while I've been collecting scrap metal for the purpose of melting down and turning into stock or in parts. And I would like to do a bit of metal casting in the future, but there's a little bit more setup involved for that, and I don't have a whole lot of spare time at the moment. So, we do have some cracks, but it feels quite hard. Like, I don't think you want to bump it too much. There are some light cracks, but otherwise, I think it's held up really quite well. This top layer is actually is a fire brick solution. The termite nest mud shrunk quite a bit. When I packed this in here, it was right to the top. When it dried, it probably sunk down a good 10 mil. And so I ended up just using this stuff to coat the top. And it hasn't held up any better than the termite mixture. So that's pretty cool. The lid's probably fared the worst, but it is sort of coping. It hasn't all fallen to bits. One thing I have noticed is that I'm better off to go a little bit less on the insulation rather than more. Where there is less insulation, as you can see, it's held together really quite well. Where there was more, it's actually started to break out. All of these parts here where we have bits of damage, that's where there were chunks of vermiculite and perlite and stuff. So maybe, maybe 1 part to 4 parts, 1 part insulation to 4 parts termite mound would be a better mixture. Probably better to go a little bit less than more. The outside of this thing got hot, but it did a really good job of holding the heat in, and it seems to be coping quite well. And if you're wondering, the termite mounds that I destroyed were inactive, just in case you were wondering. It's like, oh no, those poor house-destroying termites, you've destroyed their homes. Yes, I did. But they were vacant, okay? The other thing that I'm going to change is I noticed that when in operation, cracking the lid open had a dramatic effect on the fire and how it was running. So I probably will put some kind of a airflow controlled wheel, kind of like what's on the top of a Weber barbecue, on the side here, or maybe even on the lid, just so I can control that airflow a little bit more. That seems to have has a bigger effect than I would have thought on the performance of the foundry, the furnace. Is this a foundry? Is it a furnace? Is it a forge? Help me out, guys. I think I've been calling it the wrong thing for the entire video. My apologies. I'm just a random guy on YouTube. I don't know everything. Drum roll, please. I announced in the last video that there was a Welder giveaway, and I'm very happy to announce that I have 2 winners, Derek and Andrew. I've already contacted you two, so congratulations. You have in fact won an Arccaptain TIG welder. So yeah, good stuff.
thank you Arccaptain for giving and sponsoring away a welder with this video. So I really appreciate what you've done for me, and as a way of showing your appreciation, if you're wanting to buy a welder, check out their stuff. They're supporting me, so a way to support the people who support me is you know, go and have a look at their stuff. I only promote quality products, and after thoroughly testing this now, I've been using it consistently for over 2 months as my daily welder, and I can't really fault it. It's it's good quality, good value for money, and yeah. So thank you Arccaptain. And other Arccaptain news, this is big news for our Australian viewers, is you guys have been pretty persistent in annoying them about selling in Australia, and your annoyance has worked. They have decided to sell welders in Australia now, so good job. There's one caveat, there'll be extra shipping costs, but basically any deals that are running, anything like that, it still counts. There just will be an extra charge in getting it to Australia, so that's the only thing. So yes. Anyway, I think that's it for this video. I will be revisiting this, and you will get to see it more often. There will be some modifications that I'm going to do. I am thinking about doing the plans, drawing up some plans and having them available on my website, so I'll announce that with a community post when they're ready to go, so just stay tuned for that if that's something you're interested in. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.